thank you everyone for attending today's session. If you haven't already done so, please mute your microphone. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat area and we'll be sure to answer them or cover them during the end of this webinar. We have a few people from Adobe attending this session with us. We have our customer success managers, Alex Wrigley and Kelly Fellows, who have been awesome. Hey, Alex. I knew you looked familiar. The name doesn't come up, but I knew you looked familiar, man. Who have been awesome in facilitating our digital transformation initiative. I can't say enough good things about them and what they've meant to our success thus far. We also have Alex Shubin, whose team developed the integration tool we're covering today. I've heard some amazing feedback from our users about this tool, and we can thank Alex and the rest of his team for making it happen. We also have, I think I saw Clint's name in there somewhere. So Clint is our solutions consultant, and you've probably seen him and heard from him during some of our previous Adobe Acrobat webinars that he's been so gracious enough to do for us. So thank you for joining us, Clint. As mentioned in the webinar invitation that was sent out, we'll be covering the Adobe Acrobat integration tool for G Suite. And we chose to cover this because we wanted to leverage two of our enterprise services that promote business continuity, regardless of where you're working from, which is especially relevant in today's climate, where many of us are still working from home or outside of the office. And again, we are recording the session for those of you who jumped on a little late. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And hopefully everyone can see my screen right now. I have on my screen my Google Drive account. And I sent out the link to the Google Drive for you to be able to access your Google Drive account. But Eric Worthen from DTS gave me a simpler link that you guys can use. It will basically be drive.google.com. And if it prompts for your Utah ID, if it prompts for a login, just make sure you use your Utah ID credentials. We'll be going over a process that some of you may be familiar with, and it's the process that we chose just because many of our users who have reached out and have already been using this integration tool kind of expressed that they want to go a little bit more in depth with. And I think that it would be a good fit for this webinar session. What you see on my screen right now are 3 files. I have 2 Word docs, attachment A and attachment B, as well as a contract cover page in PDF format. Now we're going to go over just in general what this integration tool has to offer. One of the good things that this integration tool offers is the ability to create PDFs and work with PDFs regardless of what file type you're using, whether it's a Word doc, Excel spreadsheet, JPEG image, PNG, whatever the case may be. To access that document in PDF, utilizing the Adobe Acrobat PDF tool, you would just right-click on a file or multiple files and select the Adobe Acrobat for Google Drive option. If you aren't already logged in, here on the top right-hand corner, there will be an option to log in by clicking on the Edit menu. And again, be sure to use your Utah ID credentials. From here, I have the option by expanding that Edit menu to either combine files, create the PDF since it's originally in a doc format, or send it out for signature. The first tool that we're going to go over is the Combine Files tool. When you click on Combine Files, it gives you the ability to add additional files to the previous file that you selected. So you can add additional files by either clicking on the Add Files button here at the top, or there will be blue plus buttons on either side of the pages that are already shown on your window. So clicking on a plus button before that page will insert the file before that particular page. Now, when you click on Enter New File Name, it will give you the option to rename the file. So let me type in here, Webinar Session Demo. Once you enter a new file name, the Combine button will be enabled for you to complete and save your changes. And what this will be doing is saving that new file that you created back into the initial folder that it was selected from. If I toggle back to that previous window that I had opened earlier and where I selected attachment A from, you can see that a new PDF was created for that. So here it lists Webinar Session Demo. And that's what I'm working off of right now. Before we go to the other tools, I just wanted to point out some of the tools that are available from this page here. If I hover over to the left corner or top left-hand corner, I will see two icons. There's the page thumbnail icon, which gives me all the pages within this file that I have open, and it will allow me to easily navigate through the various pages. And it comes in really handy when you're working with a document that has dozens, maybe more pages that you're trying to navigate through. The other icon is the bookmarks icon, which gives you bookmark links to easily toggle through and navigate through your file. And hovering over any of these icons gives you an explanation of what those tools will do. You have additional navigation tools here at the bottom that allow you to navigate through the pages, whether clicking on the up and down button or entering a page number here. I only have one page open, which is why it won't really allow me to go to any additional pages. You have the ability to increase or decrease the zoom view, as well as expand the current page to fit the window or view the page as a whole. Here on the top right-hand corner, you have really great collaborating tools, such as the ability to add sticky notes. So if I wanted to add a sticky note anywhere on the page, I can just select and click on that portion of the page, which will apply that sticky note. And I have the ability to add a comment. So maybe I want to add something like, please change font for all paragraphs. When you add a comment, it will give the name of the person who added the comment as well as when they entered that comment. You have additional tools such as the highlighter tool, which allows you to highlight specific text within the document as well. If I needed to put something like, please clarify, the person reading it will know exactly which portion of the page that I want clarified. And then there's the draw tool that allows you to insert drawings onto the page as well. Lastly, there's the search tool that allows you to search for text within that document. So if I needed to find anywhere on the document that has attachment A, it would easily search for that. Lastly, when you click on these three dots here at the top right-hand corner of your screen, you'll find the ability to download the PDF or print the PDF. We get that common question a lot when people choose the export option, that they can't find the download or the PDF option to export to. Since this file is already in PDF format, it gives you the ability to download it by clicking on these three dots as well as printing it out. And as you can see, these changes are being saved automatically, which is why you don't see a save button here anywhere here on the window. Now, the other tool available is the combine tool. I'm sorry, the organized pages tool. So let me go back and combine these two files. And wait for it to save. There we go. Now, if I click on the organize, that edit menu again, I have other options available in addition to what you previously saw. Earlier, you saw combine files, create PDF, as well as send for signature. Now that I have it opened in a PDF format, I can select other options such as organize pages. So this organize pages is really convenient, and it will be similar to what you previously saw when I was trying to combine another file with the initial file that I had opened earlier. If I had scanned in a few pages and I needed to change the rotation on any of them, I could do so from this page. So by selecting one or multiple pages on from this window here, I can change them, change the rotation 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. I can add additional pages, what I was trying to show earlier. Let's say I needed to add a contract cover page to this document, let's say in the front of the actual file itself. Let me go ahead and find that. I just had to click on the plus button, search for the file from my Google Drive, and add that contract cover page. So you can see it will add it exactly where it needs to be. If I needed to remove any of those pages, I can either click on the delete icon or the trash icon on each specific page, or I can select multiple pages to delete it as well. If I change the file name, it will create a brand new file for that. Otherwise, clicking organize will save your changes. And as you can see, I now have the page that I added onto the initial combined files that I created earlier. And if I needed to make any additional comments or changes, or I'm sorry, comments or sticky notes to this, I can as well. What I forgot to mention earlier was right-clicking on anywhere on the page also gives you the ability to add sticky notes as well as use the draw tool. The next tool we're going to go over is the Export PDF tool, which allows you to export any of the the current document that you have open into whether it be a Microsoft Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, a PowerPoint document. You can make that selection from here, and it will export it in whatever file that you choose. So let's say you get a PDF, and that PDF, it may be outdated. A lot of times working in government forms, you may not have the original source file like a Word document that you will be able to easily change the format or make updates to, especially if they are particularly older documents. You definitely want to change those and update those as frequently as you need to. The export option does give you an easy way to do that. So if I needed to export this into a Word document, I just have to select that Export PDF tool and select Export to DocX. Now, I have seen this run for a little while, that processing time. And it will all depend on how many pages that you're trying to export. So if it is taking a little while longer than you anticipate, just let it run unless you really need to close it out and try again. Otherwise, it has, for some of our users, it has taken a little bit of time to process just because they are working with hundreds of pages worth of PDFs. And lastly, you have the Create PDF option, which allows you to create PDFs from whether it be your Google Drive or your personal Google Drive or a shared drive that you have access to. And it's pretty much the same process as you saw earlier, where you would enter the file name and it will save into a folder on your Google Drive. Now, the next thing that we're going to cover is the Send for Signature option. You can either send for signature from here, which will take the current document that you already have open, and it will lead you to the send page. As you can see, I have the webinar demo that I created earlier from combining those 3 attachments that you saw in my contracts folder. Or you have the ability to select multiple pages, right-click, open with Adobe Acrobat. And while all 4 are open on this preview page, select the Send for Signature tool from here as well. So you have both options available. And before I go any further, you also have the ability to view all agreements from this page as well. And what this View All Agreements link will lead you to is your Manage page within your Adobe Sign account. That way you don't have to toggle back and forth between Adobe Sign as well as Google Drive. It will take you directly to that page where you can easily view the status of any documents that you have in progress or that's been completed. So really convenient, especially when you're working with multiple documents and you don't want to have to toggle back and forth between them. So going back to the send page from that document that I selected to send for signature for, we have the typical send page that many of you are already familiar with. You have the recipients area, you have the messages area, as well as the files area here. We're going to just go through this process really quickly, just because we have a lot of information already on this on these areas in our video library that's on our chat area for this webinar session. I'm going to add myself as the first signer. Actually, I'll add Alex Wrigley and then myself. And the name of the agreement will inherit whatever file name that you use to send for signature. So The file name of the PDF was webinar demo, which is why it reflects that as the agreement name. Otherwise, I could still change that if I needed to. So I could change that to sample contract, and that's what the agreement name will be. Before I go any further, I just wanted to point out the reason why I added Alex as one of the participants was because a lot of people typically ask if they could send documents for signature outside of state of Utah employees, and the answer is yes, you can. The only person that really needs an Adobe Sign account is the person sending it, and everyone on this call right now should already have an Adobe Sign account. When I'm ready to move on forward, all I have to do is click on Next to move on to the authoring page. And the authoring page is where you're going to be adding all of the fields that will be assigned to each participant that you've indicated on the previous page. I have a few fields already shown here, and those fields were created outside of Adobe Sign. I actually created those through Adobe Acrobat by using the Prepare Forms tool, which we will be covering on our next round of webinar sessions. So if you are interested in learning how to make fillable PDFs, be sure to attend those sessions, and we have those set for sometime in October. Still finalizing the details on that. But as you can see here, I have all of the pages that I've combined from working with the Adobe Acrobat integration tool. I have the contract cover page. I have attachment B and attachment A. Somewhere, yep, there it is. I have all of the fields that I need. I have I have all the pages that I need, and I also have all the fields I need as well. But if I needed to add any additional fields, such as maybe an extra signature field on the third page, I could do that, or second page, make any changes that I need to. But when I'm ready to move forward, all I have to do is press send here on the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. This will take me to the completion page, and it looks familiar to the completion page that you are typically familiar with or typically see when you are routing documents through the traditional way through the Adobe Sign dashboard. But it does allow you here on the bottom where I've highlighted to choose a destination folder on your Google Drive account, and which is really convenient because some of our agencies are now exploring retention policies, meaning their documents may not reside within their Adobe Sign dashboard for too long. They have maybe a 10-day retention policy or 30-day or 60-day retention policy, meaning at the end of that retention policy, those documents will be deleted from their Sign account. You, as an added redundancy feature, you can select to send it from from Google Drive, and it will save back into that original folder that you sent from by default, or choose a separate folder entirely within your Google Drive account. So if you have an archive folder, then you can select to save it into that particular folder. And if I leave it as default, you can see if I toggle back to that previous page that I've sent it from, I can see that there's a new document in there that will be the Adobe Sign document that I sent out for signature. And if I hover over the document name, it actually gives me the status live of where that document is in the routing process. So it lets me know that the sample contract is still in progress. And if I complete that, then it will say completed. And it lets me know exactly where it was sent through, which is Adobe Sign. So really convenient in tracking your documents. You get to know live exactly where it is. That way you don't have to track it. And it just gives you an added level of comfort knowing that all of your documents will be saved in that folder that you select, rather than maybe forgetting to download the document from your Adobe Sign account to your desktop before it gets removed based on your retention policy. Now from this page as well, you also have the ability to track the agreement if you needed to. So tracking the agreement will allow you, clicking on that track agreement button will allow you to see a little bit more in-depth view of where that document is in the process. I could see that Mr. Wrigley, awesome, he went ahead and signed it. He viewed the document as well, and now it is waiting for me to sign. So I went ahead, I did view the document, and I just need to sign it at that point, which will complete the signing order. Let's go ahead and do that right now, view and sign. And for those of you who aren't aware, There is a little icon here at the top that lets you know how many required fields are left blank. And if I click on that, it will take me to that next required field that I need to fill out. And only when all required fields have been filled out will the click to sign or click to approve or click to fill button appear on the bottom bottom portion of the window. As soon as I click on that, it will complete that particular document. So as you can see here on my, if I toggle back to that previous page that I had open, where I was sending the document from my Google Drive account, I can see that the status has now changed from in progress to completed. So again, real-time status alerts as to where that document is in a process. And it's super convenient, especially to a lot of our users who have, let's say, an archive folder or an Adobe Sign folder specifically for their documents that they've routed through Adobe Sign. So that's one way many of our users have been utilizing this integration tool. And one more thing I wanted to point out was just another way of how others have been implementing this. The development team did come out with the ability to utilize this integration tool for shared drives as well. This is not a shared drive, but I'm just giving you an example of how one of our agencies has been utilizing this integration tool. What they'll do is store a whole bunch of their Office forms onto a shared folder that's shared to either everyone in the office or everyone in their division. Anyone that has access to that particular form can right-click, utilize the integration tool by clicking on Adobe Acrobat for Google Drive, sending it out for signature, and that same form will be saved back into their original folder that they've sent from. So really convenient from that standpoint. If I needed to send something out like an Employee of the Month nomination form, I could do that from here. So let's put in Alex Wrigley, nominator Daryl Ahola, for being quick to sign. And if I needed to send that out for signature, I just have to click on the send for signature option and it will replicate. And I just need to go through the same steps that you've seen me go through earlier, where I specify who needs to accept this form and any of the other options I have here as well. Or I could just leave it as this here. Just close this. Or I could just leave it as this and it will just save from that point. And that's pretty much all that we have to cover for this webinar session. Let me just, if you guys have any questions that come up after the session, please feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have. And thank you again for attending this session. Mahalo. Have a great day.